Welcome to Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. This show is dedicated to asking tough questions for you, the viewers. We bring you their responses, and we let you decide. Joining us here today at our MCTV studios, we are joined by a person who needs no introduction. He has won numerous awards for his writing at the Lawrence Eagle Tribune. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome my guest, Mr. J.J. Huggins. Mr. Huggins, welcome to the show.
How you doing, Hector? Thank you for having me.
Thank you for coming. Methuen budget. It's going to be a tough year this year.
Yes.
You know, city employees took pay cuts during the last 2 years. Do you think the people are going to, should the people expect that to happen this year?
I don't think so. We just saw the city council give the laborers union, which represents several dozen DPW workers, they just received a raise. So I think the other union employees in the city are looking at that, and they will, I think, be expecting a raise this year. They've, just like you said, they've taken 2 years of pay cuts. I don't think they're going to, would not expect to see another year of pay cuts. I think those employees will be looking for a pay increase this year.
And it's a difficult time all the way around. Look at the Wisconsin situation that's going on there. The police departments are now ordered to go round up all the Democrats and bring them back. So do you think we're going to see that happen here in Methuen or in the Commonwealth anytime soon?
I don't think it'll get that extreme here.
Now, the teachers union, they were the only unions in Methuen that did not take pay cuts during the last 2 years. We have a new school superintendent. How do you think this is all going to play out with the school committee and the new school superintendent?
I think it's going to be very ugly. And I don't think I'm going out on a limb saying that. The teachers union was locked into a 3-year contract that did not expire at all during the last 2 years. The other municipal unions had contracts that expired, and therefore that enabled the mayor to go back and negotiate new contracts with them and negotiate pay cuts with them in order to save jobs. And, you know, this is all happening when the economy was tanking. The teachers union was locked into a 3-year contract that guaranteed them pay raises. The school officials, the former superintendent Jeannie Whitten and school committee members called on the teachers union to take a pay cut to offset layoffs, and the union leadership refused. And now that 3-year contract expires June 30th of this year, so they have to go and negotiate a new contract with the new superintendent, Judy Scannell, and I'm willing to guess that that'll be pretty ugly between the school department leadership, the school committee, who may be quite angry at the teachers union for not taking a pay cut, and so we'll see what happens.
Well, we understand that the federal government has passed out grants to the schools to rehire teachers and so on. Should they consider that an option, just use the federal grant money that's available and leave the local taxpayers' monies alone?
I think they'll do anything they can to save local taxpayer money. At the end of the day, it's all about the students. And whatever fighting happens between the union and the school committee and perhaps maybe the superintendent, that at the end of the day, they all know that the ones who either win or lose in this are the students. They're the ones who, they don't want to see their teachers get laid off and be shoved into classrooms with, 40 kids. So I think they'll try to grab any federal money they can to help solve this problem.
And also the Methuen renovation project that is supposedly getting off the ground now too as well, and
yes,
that's going to be playing a big part. You mentioned the way the school system is now, crowdedness and so on. Do we know when this renovation is going to be completed?
As far as I know, the mayor hasn't released a firm date yet, but he has been saying they should be breaking ground fairly soon. They already have all the building blocks in place. It's in place. The school administration building is empty right now. All the people who work in there have been moved over to the Quinn building, so workers can renovate the old central school building and make room for the 9th graders who will need to go in there while the high school is being renovated. So I would look for that this year shortly. That project will get off the ground.
Now, you covered a lot of Bethune politics throughout your years reporting for the Lawrence Eagle Tribune, and like I said in my opening, you have won numerous awards for your reporting. And I picked up the top 5 stories that we noticed that you took a lot of hits, whether it was posted on Facebook or the people blogging on the Eagle Tribune blog as well. Every single report that you put out there had public attention. And one of the public attentions were the battle between the city of Methuen and the chief of police. Now, the return of the Methuen chief of police has gone smoothly so far. Is that a battle that's going to continue? I mean, obviously the taxpayers are going to be affected in all of this.
As of now, the battle is continuing, but very quietly. The city is appealing the civil service decision that ordered Chief Solomon back to work. That appeal is in Lawrence Superior Court, but it's been very quiet. That appeal is pending, but there hasn't been a lot of movement on it yet. Now, any case in Superior Court moves very slowly, but I mean, so they are, if they were totally satisfied with having Solomon back at work, common sense says they would drop the appeal. They have not dropped it yet. So they are still battling the chief, but there's it's nothing like we saw in the past where, the mayor and Solomon were exchanging, jabs through the civil service hearing and all. I mean, they weren't, standing in front of each other, yelling at each other, but both sides had their lawyers involved, and there was a drawn-out legal battle. We're not seeing that right now, but there is still an appeal pending.
Now, it's interesting that you mentioned that both sides had their attorneys. Is it fair to say that both sides are actually being represented by taxpayer money anyways? The city has their solicitor, their outside law firms, and the chief of police has his attorneys, which are paid by the taxpayers under their contract, sort of like what's going on in Lawrence right now, correct?
Yes, the chief of police, his attorneys are paid by the Chiefs of Police Association, and when you hire a chief of police, part of their contract includes dues to the Chiefs of Police Association. So yes, taxpayers are paying for that.
So how do we see this working out with the Lawrence situation where Mayor Antigua has gone on the record stating that he wants to eliminate that type of perks for police officers from taxpayers paying for these police officers to do their job and not be held accountable, if they did something while performing their duty. I mean, that's a big topic right now, and I wonder if this is why the city is broke. This is why we have no money.
We're seeing a trend with mayors trying to move police chiefs, fire chiefs out of civil service, and like in Lawrence, take away their money or their sort of nest for legal defense to. That way, yeah, I mean, if they took away those safeguards that these chiefs had, it would be easier to fire these people when the mayor so chooses, and then the chief would not have a recourse to go through the civil service process and have attorneys to fight for them. They would have to pay for that themselves, which, I mean, that costs a ton of money. So right now, the money doesn't come directly out of their pocket. So it's, yeah, I mean, we're seeing a trend here toward mayors trying to get these high-level public officials removed from civil service where it would make it a lot easier for the mayors to get rid of them when they want to.
Is this something that's being felt all around the country? I mean, again, I have to go back to the Wisconsin where, the unions are fighting the government over there because they want their rights to collective bargaining. And, it's affecting the taxpayers, and this is where we're at. One of the interesting things that we're going to be seeing in Methuen and around the Commonwealth in November, it's a new election coming up for mayor. How do you see this playing out with the budget crisis, the name recognition that some people may have running in for this election? It's going to be an interesting election. How do you see this playing out?
I look at Lawrence a couple of years ago where we had, I think, 10 candidates. You had Mayor Michael Sullivan, he was term limited, could not run again, so you did not have any incumbent running. So that opened the door to a slew of candidates. There ended up being 10 of them. And that was, at a time when everybody was predicting Lawrence had a rough road ahead. But yet you still had 10 people come forward and fight for the job to be able to lead that city through what everybody knew was going to be a tough time. It has been a tough time. St. Methuen, everybody knows any city in the country has a rough road ahead. This economy is not really getting better. And I don't think that'll deter people. I think you'll see I wouldn't be surprised to see 10 candidates running for mayor in Methuen. We're already hearing a lot of names being thrown around, some with a lot of recognition, some with a little less recognition, some people that have run before. So I think it'll be a very interesting battle to watch.
And I just want to remind the viewers, you are watching Behind the Scenes. I am your host, Hector Montalvo. We are joined here at our NCTV studios with no other than J.J. Huggins from the Lawrence Eagle Tribune, talking about Methuen politics and the issues surrounding your tax money and everything else like that. Al Denuncio has gone on the record saying that he is going to throw his hat in the race for mayor this election. He ran for state representative last year, and he also ran for city councilor at one point. Do you see this hurting him at any chance? He claims he grew his base throughout those cycles. Do you see that hurting him? And also the people that are coming in with name recognition, does he still have a shot?
I think he definitely has a shot. I don't know if that hurts him to have run in the past. I mean, Abraham Lincoln ran several times, lost several times, and then, became president. He's Abraham Lincoln.
You had the Lawrence state representative who ran 9 times for that seat, and finally Willie Lantigua gave it to him, and he's up there now. Oh, I don't know if he gave it to him, but they must have worked out a backdoor deal there. So we have Al Denuncio jumping in, and any other names? I heard a rumor that Mr. Kevin Thompson may be running, former candidate for mayor as well, and ran against Al Denuncio. That's going to be a heated race. If
rematch.
Yeah, it's going to be a rematch. What was it? The Loon versus? Did Denuncio have a name?
I don't think there was any unofficial name assigned to him.
It wasn't. So it was just that one Loon remark made by Al Denuncio over to the Thompson camp, and I don't recall what the response from the Thompson camp was, but it's going to be an interesting race, and we'll see what's going to happen. What are some of the other issues you see the taxpayers of Methuen having to deal with besides the Methuen budget and the teachers' contract union and the high school renovation and the legal battles between the police department and the city of Methuen?
There's a lot of other legal battles going on. I mean, if you go onto the trial court's website or the federal court's website and search City of Methuen, there's a lot of cases pop up, and that's costing taxpayer money right there. I mean, that's something to always keep an eye on. It's always been an issue. I mean, any city with a lot of people will have a lot of litigation, but Methuen seems to just always have, I don't know, for the amount of people who live here, it seems to be quite a bit. So and that'll continue. We'll always be pulling out stories out of the court system about Methuen and all the other towns that we cover.
And the court system itself is a different topic in itself because they have their own problems, as you see the probation department scandals. So it's just problems all the way around. Now you mentioned the website of the court system. For the city of Methuen, you can actually go in and check to see what cases are actually pending on the court system side for the city of Methuen. Do we know, or do we have any stats in regards to how the complaints rate between Lawrence and Methuen? Do we see that? I know that Lawrence has a five lawsuits pending against them on just one police officer.
Right.
Do we see that type of pattern at the same time? Or?
I've never done a comparison in that regard, but I do know that you're talking about those 5 lawsuits, police brutality lawsuits?
Yes, yeah, just on one cop that's been terminated anyways now.
Methuen has 0 police brutality lawsuits pending right now, so that's that's just one area I know that where we can compare, and we have compared it.
Yeah, so hopefully, and that's a good thing if they have zero police brutality complaints. It just goes to show that they're out there serving the community, doing their job, and respecting civil rights and human individuals as well. Now, what else do you see facing the people of Methuen? I know I asked you that, and I know there's something in you that you must know. I mean, you're J.J. Huggins from the Eagle Tribune. Come on.
The award-winning reporter.
Yes, there's something there.
Well, I mean, some of the sort of basic day-to-day things that people everywhere are dealing with. I mean, for one thing, the Comcast contract is up for renegotiation. The people out there watching the show can get involved, can comment on that. There'll be a public hearing coming up where people can talk about what they want to see on television here in Methuen. I mean, unemployment is still really bad in Methuen and Lawrence, everywhere around the country. Foreclosures that process has been pretty much halted right now, but that crisis is still there. Gas prices, I mean, we're all just being hit with, it's basically the big theme here, the story I think that has been in the news for the last couple of years that will continue to be in the news is the economy. There's no way around it.
Exactly, and with everything that you just mentioned, the cities and towns are broke. So we're going into negotiations. We're going into negotiations with Comcast. We're going into negotiations with the teachers union. We're going into negotiations with the budget. Taxpayers are paying for all of this, and the unions are not willing to budge. They don't see it the way the regular person sees it.
Well, you mentioned the Wisconsin situation. I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if that nationally is drawing a line between union workers and non-union workers, and I wouldn't be surprised to see that carry over. I don't think it'll get as dramatic here as it's gotten in Wisconsin, but you may see some taxpayers show up at some of these public hearings where these union contracts are being voted on. And we have seen a little bit of where, you know, Joe the taxpayer gets up and says, you know, I've lost my job, I'm only making X amount of dollars, and here you have these union teachers getting raises. You know, I wouldn't be surprised to see that rift happen. If it happens, it'll be, these contracts have to be approved by July 1st, so it'll be within the next few months here.
So we'll see. We'll definitely see what plays out in that, just in the negotiations alone. It's difficult to please everyone. You know, government wants this, taxpayers want this. At the end of the day, the government is not going to listen to you. Taxpayers lose anyway. So it really doesn't matter. But people should get involved in their government and speak up in these public participations. You mentioned the Cable Advisory Board holds meetings, and they're going to be having a public meeting. But, you know, we have competition out there, all right? Businesses do. The people don't have anyone to compete against when it comes to their government, when it comes to their spending their money, you know, so something has to give, and has to start with the unions, in my opinion.
That's why they say you can't fight City Hall.
Yeah, that's for sure. You can't fight City Hall. You can't fight the court system either, because, you know, it's just no accountability whatsoever. No accountability. And, you know, one thing I want to say about the situation in Lawrence that affects the people is the police brutality claims that people are making. And these officers are paid by taxpayer dollars. They have representation because it's part of their contract. When we violate the laws, we get prosecuted. We have to pay for our own funding. And under the law, it is my understanding that everyone is accountable for their own actions. So whether or not they're doing it in the performance of their job, why should that be any different to government employees, to union workers, and so on?
Well, if they are found guilty, they can lose their job, and then they are held accountable, and then they have none of those protections if anybody goes after them again. So it's difficult. They have a lot of protection. I mean, I can see the other side of this, where how are you going to go and be a police officer? You will get physical with people, and that will open you up to lawsuits. How would you ever be able to find people who want to become police officers if they could always be sued and they had nobody to defend them? The Eagle Tribune we have a law firm on retainer, so that if somebody comes after me for writing a story, I don't have to pay for that out of my pocket. We have attorneys that the paper pays to come and defend me. Luckily, I'm an award-winning reporter. That hasn't happened, but I need that protection in my job. I can see why police officers need that protection in their job. But if you're really a bad apple and you're found guilty, then you'll lose that protection.
Yeah, but the problem is that government got us in the situation that we're in, and I would argue that the people that don't get involved in actual government can't actually complain, because if you don't exercise your right to vote, you don't come out and participate in public participation, you're allowing government to get away with wasteful spending. If you get fired from your job and you're a state worker, there's an accusation, you're suspended, you still get paid for that. And you can go for 2-3 years before you can get into court. You said it yourself that, it's slow process in the court system. And it is, and I totally agree with you on that aspect. But it just goes to show you there's no accountability. That people were still paying these individuals that get suspended, and the regular Joe that gets suspended from their job only has one option: go to unemployment. Why should the people get any less and government get everything on taxpayer dime? It's just not it's not acceptable, and I can tell you right now, we're working and doing something about it. My name is Hector Montalvo, ladies and gentlemen. You are watching Behind the Scenes. If you want a question that you want answered from your government officials or Eagle Tribune reporters or state government, please send us an email at the HectorMontalvoShow@yahoo.com. JJ, let me ask you something. Getting off the subject for a second. Jamie Atkinson, well-known name here in Methuen.
Household name.
Household name, yes. He's also the host of Politically Active, that could be seen here on MCTV. And he's also the host of AM Live with Jamie and George. He's been in the hospital for about 8 weeks now.
Yes.
Haven't had any visitors. I went to visit him not too long ago after doing an interview with the mayor. I went to see him and he was sleeping. Have you gone to see him? And if so, was he sleeping when you got there, or?
I have gone to see him. He was wide awake. I did send him a text message before I got there, though, to alert him that I would be coming.
So he was wide awake for you.
And when he responded, apparently he didn't have my number saved in his cell phone, so he responded and said, "Who is this?" And I replied, "Megan Fox." And he was wide awake when I got there.
Now, Mayor Manzi is obviously termed out, so obviously he's not going to run. We were in negotiations for him to become my chief of staff. I don't know if you heard about that. He wants $135,000, and I think the mayor's position pays about $80,000 in the city of Methuen.
So you're going to offer it to me for $110,000?
Well, should the mayor come to the table and negotiate with me?
You can cut him out of the picture. I'll do it for a little less, 110 okay, maybe. I'll even go down to 105.
105. There you go. He wanted 135, so we'll see what happens. JJ, listen, it was a pleasure having you on the show. We do face the budget crisis, the teachers union, the legal battles of the city with the chief of police. We have Al Denuncio running for mayor. We have Kevin Thompson maybe throwing in his hat, and we have the high school renovation. All of that, who's affected by it at the end of the day?
Taxpayers.
Thank you for joining us. I want to thank the crew at MCTV. Thank you at home for watching. Join us next time as we go behind the scenes to ask the tough questions, bring you their responses. We let you decide. Thank you for watching.